bucket.
So, last time we did a little bit of inking and I did some drawing and inking to get this page going of this deer in the Yosemite Valley. And we're going to talk about coloring comics today. So, I love coloring. Coloring is really fun. There's a lot of different ways to color. There's tons of cool techniques for coloring. I'm going to show you some of my favorite. The first thing about comic coloring is that there's a process which is called flatting. And that, like in painting, would be where you lay down your base colors, just your base coat that goes underneath. That's kind of boring flat colors, but it sets the tone for what you're going to do next. Also, it's just like, it's a technical step. You need to have it. It's like doing a base coat when you're painting a wall or a primer coat. You got to have something under there so you can like get the paint on top and the details. So even, no matter what your style, if it's like an airbrush style, if it's a painterly style, if it's like very digital, non-digital, basically you're going to flat no matter what. And then old comics, and then, also new comics, if that's their style, flatting is like all they did. They just did the flatting, and then that was the plates that went to press. So anyway, we're thinking flat colors, and I'm going to show you some of my techniques for this. So first I've got ink. We had our sketch layer below. We have an ink layer. And then I have the panels on another layer. So we're going to need a third layer. And I'm going to call this flats. Okay, so this is my flat layer. And here's the thing. I don't use dozens and dozens of layers when I'm coloring. I usually use one. And I'll show you why I can do that. It's because of the power of flats. So the first thing about flats is that you're going to just fill everything in with one color first. So let's work on a section. Let's work on this top panel first. Okay, so let's go in here. We're going to fill this whole panel, and there's a couple of things that we need to do right away. So we're going to be using our paint bucket tool a lot, so let's get that. And let's turn anti-alias off. So anti-alias on is like it fuzzes the edges out as you go along so that you get, like a nice smooth, color fading off to the background. But we do not want that. We want hard pixels. So we're going to go anti-alias off so that everything we're filling is just either an on pixel or an off pixel. We're also going to go over to our brush, and we're going to change that to our pencil. And the pencil tool, that's exactly what the pencil tool does too. The pencil tool is exactly the same as the brush tool, except for the pencil tool is just on or off. It is pixel on, pixel off. If I zoom way in here, you'll see that my pencil tool is just pixel on or pixel off. You'll see my ink work over here is not that way. My ink work has grays in here. If I look at it carefully, see, there's gray dots here. That's anti-alias, so that it blends out and has a beautiful line. Great for ink, but for pencil, we're going to use the pencil because we're going to use that for color work. So the pencil is great because it gives you just on or off, and that's going to be very useful later. And actually, I'll show you right now why it's useful. So if I use this pencil tool, and then I use the exact same thing, but I use the brush tool. All right, so you can see this is the pencil tool, and there's none of that aliasing. Pen tool, brush tool, aliasing, and then I come in with my paint bucket and I grab a color. When I turn anti-aliasing off and I come in here, perfect. It fills it perfectly, as opposed to this. If I fill in my aliased guy, look at what's happening here. See, I'm getting all this stuff because it's not quite white, so it can't fill it in, and then you get junk edges. So you don't want your color to do this. You want your color to do this, okay? And the reason why is, well, let's say I change the color to blue now. Perfect change, no problem. I can change this a million times, no problems. This one, it's gonna change each time I fill it. It's gonna get weirder and weirder. And if I turn this anti-aliasing on, you'll see how that works. See, it keeps filling it because it keeps trying to find the gray. So we don't want that. We want anti-alias off on the bucket. We want our pencil tool, not our brush tool. And then we're going to get perfect fills. Okay, so now let me show you what to do for flatting. So let's zoom out here to where we can see our guy. Let's make sure we're on the flat layer. Let's just make a selection because this is a box. Selection's an easy way to do this. And then we'll just grab our paint bucket, which is again anti-alias off, and bonk. Okay, here we hit it with a color. Now, what color should this be? Right now, it doesn't matter, okay? It could be any color, and just make it a color that's visible. And there is a reason why, and you're gonna find out very, very soon, okay? The reason is that when I come in and I start breaking this stuff out, what I'm trying to make for myself is a map. And what we're actually going to use this map for is selections. So you'll find this out as we go along, but the colors don't matter. What matters to me the most is how visible the colors are, okay? So if I make this paint bucket selection, and now I pick another color that's really easy to see on top of this blue, so let's pick like a bright orange. That's easy to see, okay? I don't care whether the deer is going to be orange or not. What I care about is this orange visible on this blue, okay? So we have the background, that's fine. Now let's cut the deer out of this background, okay? Now, if I draw across, you can see I'll pop right out here and I'll make a mess down here. There's an easy way to stop that, and that is if you go to your flats layer and you lock the transparency, this little box with the checkered box, now I can only draw on what we've just filled. So that's great. Okay, so I'm gonna lock that and unlock it as we need it. So right now I'm just gonna lock it. Now there's a couple ways to do this. I prefer using the pencil tool for most stuff. Some people prefer selections. You can make a selection and fill that selection. If you're going the selection route, make sure that on your selection tool you also uncheck anti-alias. If you don't uncheck that, you're going to run into the same problems as you will with the paint bucket, okay? So just make sure anti-alias is off for flatting. That's really important. Just make sure that is off. So we could do a selection here, and that'll be an anti-alias selection. But personally, I don't use selections. Personally, I use the pencil tool. So I'll show you how. It can be any size. A round brush is fine. I usually have the pen pressure on so that if I push hard, I get thick. If I don't push that hard, I get thin, okay? And what I do is I just very roughly go around and fill in this outline, okay? And I can scrape all the way through because I'm not gonna draw down here because I have my transparency locked, okay? So I'm going to draw through this guy. I'm gonna just give it basically an outline all the way through my guy, okay? And with flatting, what you wanna do is you wanna go large area to small area. So think about the biggest thing that you have and fill that in first. So, you know, usually you fill in characters, or if it's a city, you fill in buildings, or, you know, whatever like the biggest, most important thing is in the frame, just fill that in first. And then you break it down into smaller and smaller chunks, okay? So for now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna break out this whole character. And you can see I can be pretty rough, and even if I mess up and go out here, it's easy to fix, so that's actually okay. But I'm going to try to be in the lines as much as I can. And the thinner your ink work is, you know, this will be a little bit tougher, but that's okay. It's all right. Doesn't take that long. All right, so here we go. So boom, boom, boom. I'm going to make sure that I draw all the way to the end of the border. And if I miss something, if I mess something up, if I go outside the lines, I'm not going to worry that much about it. I'm going to fix that if I need to, but for the most part, you won't need to. And the reason why is because in the next step, you'll see that we're essentially using this flats layer as a mask, as a selection mask. And this is, again, there's multiple ways to do this. I've found this to be one of the most efficient ways to do things, and I really like it. Once I have my flats are, you know, take a little bit of extra time, but once I have my flats, I essentially have just a great tool for going in and painting stuff and painting shadows and highlights and stuff. And if I mess something up, fixing it, okay? Or if something needs to be changed, like a color swap or whatever, easy to fix, okay? So for me, coloring is not just about getting a result. It's also about if I need to change the result, is that easy? And do I have to dig through 50 layers to do that? No, I actually only have one layer, and it makes it really easy to manage. All right, so here is my outlined deer. If you take a look at this. If I turn the ink off, you can see that I've got a good outline. It's a perfect outline. If I turn the panels off, you can see it goes all the way to the edge, right? So that's a good outline to have, because now when I grab my bucket tool and hit that, now you can see that my deer is filled in perfectly, okay? So as long as you're going all the way to the edge and you're filling in the shape, you're gonna get a good fill. So here's my nice flats layer. Here's the beauty, because this is just one layer, okay? If I have something here where I messed up and I went outside the lines, okay? Just use your brush picker, pick that background color and fix it, right? So any of these little places where I went outside the lines, I just come back in there and fill it with that blue, and it's just that easy. I have this perfect, clean thing going on, and then all I have to do is, oh, there's a little dot. Okay, and then I just grab my orange again, okay? And then boom, there we go, very easy. So I might even add the water droplets into this orange. So, and then again, because I'm using pen pressure on my stroke, it becomes pretty easy to fill in. And I didn't have to make a custom brush or anything because I'm on the pencil tool. This is literally just that Photoshop circle, the default brush. And it works fine. You know, you can use a custom brush if you want, but this works fine for filling. Okay, and then if something is too thin to fill, you can just hit it big and then grab the blue and cut away and work backwards. So I love doing that. So the cool thing about this is because we're all on one layer, it's as easy to fix things as it is to fill them, which is really helpful. Okay, so now I've cut out the deer from the background. It doesn't matter that it's orange and blue. Maybe this deer is going to be a different color. All that matters is there's contrast so I can see what I've done. Now I want these antlers to be cut out from the deer. So here's the cool thing. If I go to my selection tool, which is the magic selection, the wand, and again, really important, make sure anti-alias is off, okay? For all your tools when you're flatting, just make sure anti-alias is off. And I'm gonna put contiguous on, and I'm gonna grab that. Because I'm on the flats layer, it is grabbing, also don't have sample all layers, right? We're just sampling the flats layer, so turn that off. And it is just grabbing this orange. Now it's gonna grab everything that's orange. If I turn contiguous off, it'll grab everything that's orange, which is actually cool too. That's fine too. If you turn it on, it's only gonna touch the things that you grab that are orange and nothing that isn't connected. So either way, so let's grab all the orange. And then now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break my big chunk into a smaller chunk. So let's choose another contrasting color. Let's grab a green, okay? Are the antlers gonna be green? No, but I just need contrast, okay? So now you can see I still have my transparency checked, so I can just draw in here like this, and I'm trying to break out the antlers from the rest of the head. So the beauty of this is because I did the big chunk first, I only have a small chunk to do. All I have to do is break it out from these ears, right? And from the head. And then there's ears here, so I need to break this out. Okay, and by breakout, I just mean draw an outline or draw an edge wherever it's connecting to these other shapes. So, I don't want it to fill the ear, so I'm just gonna fill this in. And again, I'm using the pencil tool, so these are just on and off pixels. There's no aliasing, it's very clean. You can see I went over the edge here, not a problem, because it's very easy to just grab the orange, fix it anywhere where I accidentally went outside those lines, and then grab that green back again, all right? So here's the thing, I cut it off here, I cut it off here, I cut it off here, so it's not gonna touch anything else, and this is incredibly easy. I just grab my paint bucket, anti-aliasing is off again, and boom, I just hit it, okay? So easy. So now the horns are broken out from the head. So now I can unselect, and now I have this great little selection here. Now, how far do you go with this? And again, there's a little thing here to fix. Easy, I just grab that orange again, boom, fix. Because we're all on one layer. That's the key here. We're on one layer. If you see here, I take away the artwork, and you can see that it's just flat colors. And if I zoom in 1,000,000%, you'll see that these flat colors are perfect pixels, right? They're little pixels. And they're completely flat colors. So that's what we mean when we say flatting. That's what flatting is. It's just flat colors that touch up to each other perfectly. No blending, no blurring, no smarshing around. Just roll easy, roll simple, flat colors. And that makes it easy to fix and select and correct them later as we go into more complicated coloring, okay? So I'm not worrying about these colors. This could be red, this could be purple, this could be magenta. And the reason why is because when we come back and use these flats as our selections for color, we're basically just using this as a mask, okay? So all we're doing really right now is masking stuff out, okay? And be precise with this if you want to be, not so precise if you don't worry about it. So the eye, right? Like, should I break out the eye? I could, you know, and then anything that's a new thing, all you have to do is just choose a new color. So I just come in here, break out the eye. Okay, cool. Now I've got the eye is a new thing, right? So now the eye is its own selection that I can select in the mask. Okay, what about this water? Should the water be something that I can break out? I don't know. If it's useful to do that, sure. So let's break out the water. Oh, and again, so now I have my transparency lock on, but the background is part of that. So if I fill in here, I'm going to go over. So the easy way to do that is, you know, each time you break out an element, grab the wand, make sure anti-aliasing is off, grab that, and then now you can't draw past it, right? So it's just basically like systematically breaking something from small into, from large into small. So systematically you're working from big to smaller to smaller to smaller. And you can do this, you know, too small and you're just breaking everything into like way too small. What I recommend is just break out the biggest features that really like you notice just on first glance, and don't break out anything else because you're going to do that later. All the shading and stuff, that's not what this is. This isn't shading, so don't break out shadows and stuff like that. You're breaking out forms, like it's a deer, break out the deer, okay? Also, if you're using your eraser, if you're like trying to fix something you mess up and you're using your eraser, just make sure that your eraser is also set with the anti-alias off. Or else you're going to have the same problems. Just make sure all your tools that you're using for flatting anti-alias off, okay? You know, some people actually ink this way with anti-aliasing off so they can just fill with the paint bucket and stuff. I don't do that because I do just the flatting in its own layer. Then I have selections for doing the coloring and ink work as messy as I want. That's the way I like it. I want my coloring and ink to be messy. I want my flatting to be clean. Each time you break a big chunk into a smaller chunk, it gets easier and easier to do that if you use the magic wand. You just use the wand, anti-alias off, select the bigger form, and then cut the smaller form out of it. So that essentially the first selection you make takes the longest, and then everyone after that takes less time, less time, less time, and less time, until eventually it's not taking much time at all. You're just cutting out like these tiny little forms, right? So that's what I recommend doing to save tons and tons of time. And good, finish. All right, good. Now let's get our paint bucket. Boom. Oh, so we missed something. So when you do this and you can't tell where you screwed up, the best thing to do is kill the ink work. I'm kind of glad that happened so I can show you this. So when I kill the ink work, you can see, oh, okay, it's not connecting here. And anywhere where it might not be connecting, I'm going to fill in just so I can make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. Now when I use the bucket, it's going to be fine. Okay? So I am going to just draw in the rocks here really quick, but I'm just going to time lapse this because this is going to be boring. So let me pick a color. It's really easy to see. Again, different color, something that's just easy to see on this blue. You know, I'm going to go like super dark, and that's easy to see. All right, so rocks. Na 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 na, painting rocks. Na 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 na, painting those rocks in na 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 na, just flattening some rocks. Na 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 na. All right, cool. So we're all done with flatting. In the next video, I'm gonna show y'all what we do with this mad color stuff here to actually color this and to go from flatting to actual color work. where this crazy coloring won't matter because we're just using them as masks, and I'll show you that in the next vid. So come check it on out. If you have any questions, comments, and otherwise, put it in the comments. Otherwise, subscribe. That's a cool thing to do too. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Ganz gut.